Hey, what's up? All right, so this time I'm going to be going over routing. I'm going to be going over variable rules, unique URLs, redirection behavior, and then in the second video, I'm going to be going over URL building. So from routing, modern web applications use meaningful URLs to help users. Users are more likely to like a page and come back if the page uses a meaningful URL they can remember and use to directly visit a page. Use the route decorator to bind a function to a URL, so we know this. So pretty much what they're saying here is we should use meaningful URLs to help the users that way that they can remember the page and use that URL to visit it directly. So as far as the home route, we don't really have to worry about we don't really have to worry too much about this because this is just the home page. But let's say they were going to go to our about page. We would want to do something like, well, first let's add the route. So add app.routes, and then we're just going to put about here. And then we're going to call this function about, and then we're going to return. So it doesn't really matter. Let's just return h1 with about. And then we can make another one for demonstration purpose. Oh, what the? So it's h1. And then I'm just gonna copy this and paste it right here. Go up here, backspace, and press enter. Okay, so I'm gonna call this context. Now, these aren't really too complex. These are simple just for demonstration purposes, but the point is for you to have a route that is meaningful and that the users can remember to directly visit the page. That's what they're saying here. So here we have about. They can easily go to slash about if they wanted to access the about section of our page or the about page of our site. And if they wanted to know some context, so they wanted to know how to, I don't know, contact the director or something of that nature, then they can go to slash contacts and then it'll render the contacts page. Um, it also says you can do more, you can make parts of the URL dynamic and attach multiple rules to a function. So here is where they make the URL dynamic or what they're referring to. So we can have a user and we can have multiple users, obviously. So depending on what user, this will change. And that's what they mean by dynamic. So if I am visiting another person's profile, then of course their name is here. But let's just say I'm on my page, then my name might pop here. This is just hypothetically speaking. And when they mean by attach multiple rules to a function, they mean this right here. So int colon post ID. This is a way of specifying that this is supposed to be in type integer or of type integer. So variable rules, you can add variable sections to a URL by making sections with variable underscore name. Your function then receives the variable name as a keyword argument. Optionally, you can use a converter to specify the type of the argument like converter colon variable name. So that's pretty much what I was saying here. You can put a dynamic URL or you can make a dynamic URL by adding these, I want to say angle brackets and then the name of the variable. Your function then receives the variable name as a keyword argument, so it's going to receive whatever you enter here as a keyword argument, and you can convert the type if you need to optionally, which is what they did here. Here are some converted types. You have string, which is the default type, so accepts any text without a slash. Int accepts positive integers. Float accepts positive floating point values. Path, like string, but also accepts slashes. So if you need something that accepts slashes, you're going to want to use path. But if you want something that accepts text without slashes, then you're going to want to use string as the type here, or the converter. We also have UUID, which accepts UUID strings. I'm honestly not too familiar with this is, so I might have to get back with you on that. Unique URLs, redirection behavior. The following two rules differ in their use of a trailing slash. So what they mean by that is if you add a slash to the end of your route, it's gonna behave differently than if you don't add a slash to the end of the route. So the canonical URL for the project's endpoint has a trailing slash. So the URL that has been pretty much used or approved, or the, I guess the accepted one, is the one that has a trailing forward slash. So this one right here. It's similar to a folder in a file system. If you access the URL without a trailing slash, Flask redirects you to the canonical URL with the trailing slash. So with this URL right here, if we forget or if we omit this forward slash right here, we will still get redirected to this same page. Whereas here, if we forget the forward slash here and we add it, then we're going to get a 404 not found error. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of this part, but that's pretty much the gist of this. So the canonical URL for the about endpoint does not have a trailing slash. So as you can see, no trailing slash. It's similar to the path name of a file. Accessing the URL with a trailing slash produces a 404 not found error. So if you try to access this URL right here and you add a forward slash here, then you're going to get this 404 not found error. This helps keep URLs unique for these resources, which helps search engines avoid indexing the same page twice. So I guess there are rules, or not guess, but there are rules when it comes to making URLs, and they don't want to index the same page twice, which is why if you try to access this with adding the with forward slash, then you will get an error. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to be going over URL building. So till then, later.